Hello, hello, it's No Apologies on Beck. Lori, how are you?
I'm good. I am good. It is fun to be back and having you back on set. I'm not going to lie.
Back on set.
Yep.
Life's been busy, but I'm just excited about it being on 8 o'clock Wednesdays and Sundays when there's no sports to kick us off.
Right, exactly, right? Our own little slot.
Yeah. So, tonight's show, I'm very excited we've got a guest because there is a lot to unpack with regard to the whole Russia-Ukraine situation.
Agreed.
And I have a feeling that we are all going to learn a lot tonight.
I agree.
But I want to start us off. State of the Union last night.
I called it Biden's state of delusion.
State of delusion. So, yeah, it was only an hour, thankfully.
Seemed longer for some reason.
Yeah, and well, there was lead up. It's like watching the red carpet, right? There's lead up, and then
The
there's the
announcements
speech, and
and all
then
the
there's the
glad
Republican,
handing.
response.
Right, all of it.
So there were a couple of themes that I saw in it, and aside from the concern regarding the president's declining cognitive abilities, because he's very much slurring, and I think that it is a cognitive function. You're reading and you're not able to transfer that into proper speaking.
But also his pace was so fast and quick that it made it even more pronounced because he was trying to get the words out more quickly, and so it was slurred.
Right, and so that was one thing I noticed. It was really incredible. I think it's something we've talked about before, where it really does send a message, I think, of weakness to the world, because we do have a situation with the president. Beyond that, he spent the initial, 10 minutes talking about Russia and Ukraine.
Right.
That was probably, at least, I think, the perception is that was a strong part of the speech.
It was also apparent that it had been added last minute because the rest of the speech had nothing to do with anything else. It was piecemealed and it was really disjointed, I thought.
Yeah. The Russian part of the speech had, there was unity. The Republicans were applauding just like the Democrats.
Right.
They gave their multitude of standing ovations, which is a side story.
Yeah, right.
When I'm president, no one will be allowed to stand during my State of the Union
Takes
address.
too long. Yeah.
So, but that was interesting because there was very little in which the audience was united. There was the defund the police, just a small moment there, where to stop defunding, we need to fund. There was about the veterans, and then there was Russia. Aside from that, it was all divisive.
Agreed.
It was all an agenda that he wanted to bring on. I also thought it was very interesting. Part of a State of the Union, a good part of it, should be the State of the Union, especially as it relates to what you have accomplished during your administration.
I thought the same thing.
Now, he was able to point to one victory, which was the Biden bipartisan infrastructure bill. Right? He was able to point to that. That's his big victory, which, again, I will remind you, 19 Republican senators crossed over to hand him that victory. But really, what the only other thing he can point to is he's very happy he was able to nominate a black female to become the next Supreme Court Justice. That's not yet accomplished.
Right.
Nevertheless, that's very, very limited. So I wanted to bring up, I was tweeting last night during the event.
This is when Twitter is actually really fun, people, because Twitter at live events like this is hilarious. So it's very fun. I tweeted a lot last night also, too.
So the reason I'm bringing up my tweets is just because I'm bringing about the State of the Union as I sort of thought about it.
Play by play.
As it was occurring last night. So this first one,
Real time.
I say releasing Petroleum Reserve in the face of having shut down our own pipeline reveals alarming absurdity. So what we're talking about there is he was very proud of the fact that he is releasing the Petroleum Reserve, an amount of it. Now, what the Petroleum Reserve is an amount we have in reserve of oil in case of emergency, where if suddenly oil is shut down, because we are now once again dependent on foreign oil, thanks to Biden administration.
Right.
If we no longer have that ability to have foreign oil, then we can open up these reserves and use them. He's using them because he has shut down Keystone Pipeline. He has shut down all leasing on federal lands.
Right.
He has decreased our own national output of oil.
And our ability to be independent.
Right, to the point that he had to beg OPEC to start increasing their output, to the point that we're using Russian oil. It is mind-blowing.
It is absurd. That was a good way of putting it.
Right. Go ahead and bring up my next tweet. here he has, there are a few tweets I have here. His perception of how economics works is very fascinating. I think he was reading a book of fiction, and it wasn't actually Econ 101. I write here, Biden administration claims to have created 6.5 million jobs. They created exactly 0 jobs. And I will remind you folks, government does not create jobs. Government creates regulations. Government creates burdens. Government creates things in hurdles by which private industry needs to...
People create jobs.
Exactly. They need to surpass, get around them, and they create jobs. The other thing is that government will destroy jobs by virtue of various actions, and that is exactly what happened with regard to COVID. So now people are finally getting around the great imposition of government because of COVID, and now they're creating jobs. Makes me very angry. Next one. Here we have Biden sees no separation or difference in the federal government investing in businesses and businesses investing. So here what he's talking about is essentially corporate welfare. So he's right in line with a bunch of the big government Republicans where, hey, we need to invest in this, we need to invest in that. Now, some of it he's talking about national infrastructure, but a lot of it, if you listen to what he was talking about last night, we need to invest in this industry, which means we're going to give your tax dollars to all of these businesses.
And preference.
He sees no difference between, so this is the problem. There's no line between private industry and government in the Biden administration's eyes. And that was evident last night. And that's a frightening thing. And I know that the word fascism is tossed out without any concern for its actual meaning. But when you have private industry, which is actually controlled by government, you have therein the basic foundation of what fascism actually is. And that's what you're seeing. You saw, if you have that prism, the speech last night showed a very fascistic point of view of our current president. Next one. Here we have, again, a lack of understanding. Biden says businesses need to survive by lowering their costs, not wages. And of course, he doesn't realize that labor wages are one of the most significant costs that businesses have. And those wages are determined
to be fair, he's never run a business, so there's that. But good Lord.
Well, again, yeah.
How can you not understand basic economics?
And when he did in his speech say we have to have a $15 minimum wage, which increases businesses' costs. Again, he has no idea that that is actually cost. Now, the next one is a very interesting topic.
This is when it starts getting good, right?
Yeah, so he is saying instead of removing government regulations that are the cause of high insulin cost, let's vilify drug companies and put price caps on their products. Fascism, anyone? Now, what I'm getting at here is that what we have are problems that someone will identify government needs to do something, not recognizing that government doing something is what caused the problem, and they want to fix it, not by removing government causing the problem, but adding more government. So pull up the next one. Now, this is a response that a physician wrote to me, and he says, a plastic surgeon lecturing his constituents about the price of insulin. Well, first off, I don't think that's accurate. I wasn't lecturing anybody. Insulin use cost is not based in capitalism, and patients can't negotiate the price. Shop around for a better deal. I have patients that frequently skip their doses due to cost, and my response to him is, yes, we agree. Insulin cost is not derived from capitalism. It's not derived from a free market. It is due to government regulation, and I list out 3 big things there that people seem to ignore. One is that insulin is very high priced, number one, because there are significant barriers to entry for competitive products. We're talking about the FDA, we're talking about biosimilar regulation. Number 2, you could get insulin cheaper from Canada, but the government won't let you.
Right.
And number 3, you could get cheaper products which are made from animal byproducts rather than the genetic insulin. It's not quite as good as regular insulin that we know and love, but it still works. They don't allow that either. It's government regulation. That's the issue. Next one up, please. Here I tweet, the Federal Reserve stops inflation. This is according to Joe Biden. Well, today must be opposite day because the Federal Reserve creates inflation because it creates money. When you add money into the pool, there are more dollars chasing the same amount of products. Therefore, the products increase in price. Oh, my Lord.
My favorite is the last. Okay. I have to admit, this is my favorite one.
Pull up the last one. Oh, yeah, this is with gun restrictions. So, yeah, What in the world? Gun restrictions are okay because deer don't wear Kevlar vests?
He literally said that. He said deer
Yes.
don't wear Kevlar vests.
Yes, and it's shocking to me, number one, the absurdity of his statement, but number two, again, talking about deer hunting in relation to the importance of the Second Amendment, no sense at all, whatever.